Hello again, and welcome back to my channel. No regret in Ket. Hopefully today today we are gonna roll some dice and to get these characters moving on their first sort of descent into the underworld for fame and fortune. If you recall last time, Zawar, Farouk, Jizna, and Mumala, they met on the first of Flock Time, Star Day, in the Brazen Monkey, and they discussed the idea of forming together as an adventuring band to go out and seek their fortunes. Zehab, who is the innkeeper, probably tried to dissuade Zawar a bit. He's concerned about Zawar. He doesn't think he and his new strange friends are gonna make it work or succeed as adventurers, and it's a dangerous life. So in an attempt to dissuade him, he demands 10% down on their monthly room and board before they even get started. Unfortunately, they don't have all that money. The only people that can afford it are Mumala and Farouk. And so they put down the 10% on 2 rooms with the assumption that they're going to put down 10% when they come back from their first delve on the other 2 rooms and secure them for the entire month. Hopefully, they're gonna come back rich and they can pay for their entire first month. However, Zehab is unsuccessful in dissuading Zawar away from the adventuring career, and they have their minds made up. So that was all on Star Day, the first of Flock Time. We were calling that day -1. And so day 0 was Sunday, 2nd of Flock Time. And they're hanging around the inn, trying to figure out where they can go to sort of find adventure and things like that. And they meet up with Nushain Astorian, a gnomish astrologer in the service of General Hadar. Now, Nushain Astorian, so I wrote up randomly as a gnome, and I think in my mind he reminds me, or he would remind me of from the Never-Ending Story. There is a little gnomish scientist named Engiwook in that one, and if I can find a picture of him, I'll put it up on the video here. But he is a short little guy with a big nose and wispy white hair. He's very keen on what lies in the dungeons of what he's calling Tarouche. Those are in the Badlands, 15 miles southwest of the village, and he's offering a reward for any evidence or information on the previous cultures that lived in the region prior to Ket becoming a nation. Now, if you'll recall here, here is our 30-mile hex. Here is the village of Lorabas, wherein lies the Brazen Monkey Inn. And this little triangle here was identified as a place of interest, and it is indeed. These are 3-mile hexes, if you recall. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So 15 miles away from Lorabas. The issue is the wilderness or the terrain, right? So we got a patrolled terrain here where Lorabas is. It is plains, and then I assume there's a patrolled. This terrain here is patrolled because there's the river and the lake where they do their fishing. So that's patrolled. But then you get into the heavier hills here, and the mountains here, and the Badlands here. These are not going to be patrolled as well as sort of one of the cleared areas by Hadar's troops. So these will be a little more sparsely populated and more dangerous in terms of encounters, could be. And since they are traveling let's dig into the Dungeon Master's Guide here again. We're in no hurry. We can take our time. Again, you know, I do love digging through this, and you always find something new. But then there are times that you forget. If you don't do it all the time, then it could get more involved. So movement is on 49 and 58 of this book. Okay. 58. Here it is, down here. The burden is average. We're going to call it average. And they're moving through both normal and rugged terrain, so we split the difference. So they're going to be able to move about 15 miles a day, which, hey, they're 15 miles away from the dungeon. I think it ends up being more rugged than it, so it's going to be 10 miles a day. I think for the sake of it being within a day's travel, I think we'll call their movement rate here to be 15. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So they can get there, but it'll be getting dark by the time they get there, which is, well, I guess it's always dark and down in the dungeons anyways. So that will take a full day's travel to get there. So what we need to do is talk to somebody here, because we don't have a boat. How are we going to get around? We can go around the lake, which will take us, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So it'll get us there too. It'll still get us there, but we'll go around the lake until we can make names for ourselves and like either hire a boat to cross. We'll go around. So they're going to go around the lake, and they're going to go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That's a full day's travel. So if you look at, and this is where it gets a little trickier. We're talking about checking for encounters. Because the encounter, the number of times a day you check for encounters depends on the terrain you're in, and our terrain is getting a little mixed, right? I had this like I imagine this will get more once we start doing this more often, it'll get easier to flip through this stuff. it's almost like they're like getting their armor on, they're tying all the belt buckles and things like that, to ensure that everything's in its place. They have all their equipment accounted for. They can move. It's taking time to get ready, much like I am doing right here. Okay, there's right here. It's on 47. Oh my goodness. There it is. So we're in kind of mixed terrain, right? We're starting in terrain, and I think what we're doing is the overall hex is a plain hex. There are different types of terrain within the hex, but the overall terrain hex is a plane. So we're going to go with a plain hex. We're going to get the morning and the evening. So they'll get 2 checks. It is moderately to sparse and patrolled. It's 1 in 10. So I'm going to say that the first, so 1 in 12. So the first check, which is in the morning, is going to be, 3, 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 12, 3, 6, 9. Right? 3, 6, 9. 3, 6. We'll do the first check 6 hours in. 9, 12, 15. So 3, 6. We'll do the first check here in these fields here. You know, they get into the rolling hills. They pass sort of the lake. They see see the boats on the lake. But the first thing we need to do, and I forgot that, it's interesting. First thing we need to do is check on the weather. This is wonderful. So it is weather generation. Precipitation, terrain effects table, determining weather conditions. Baseline data chart. Here we go. This is the first actual roll on camera for the campaign. It is flock time. The base temperature is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And the high is going to be D10 plus 6, 7, 6 is 13. That's 76 Fahrenheit. That's pretty warm. Pretty warm. Let's see the sky conditions. 74. Flock time, 74. Cloudy. Well, it's a cloudy day. Chance of precipitation. You would have hoped that it was like a sunny day. The chance of precipitation is 42%. Okay, the green is the tens, if I haven't been clear on that one. 42%. Higher than 42%. 91, so it is not gonna rain today. We're in luck there. Okay, so the first rolls are out of the way. It is a cloudy day, a balmy 76, and a balmy 76 and no precipitation. Wonderful. So we'll just get the 76 degrees, cloudy, 0% precipitation. Okay. I know what you're talking about. We'll make the first encounter check in the hills here. So I imagine that they're walking. Cloudy weather, whatever. Not super cold. It's warm enough. It's not raining. The grasses are green. They have rolling hills. There are boats out on the lake, doing their fishing stuff, and all that sort of interest in, it's flock time, right? So, and we'll roll for our first encounter here. We did say that is sparsely populated and patrolled, so it is a 1 on a D12. 1 and 12. Here we go. Here's our D12. 12. No encounter. Okay. I mean, that's good. I mean, we don't really want to encounter things. Right out of the gate. So the trek gets a little worse. It sort of wears on people. It's difficult to get through. The hills here, the mountains here, and I want to say sort of they're coming out of the foothills of the mountains, ready to get into the Badlands, and we'll do another roll here. Now, this one is in I'm going to call this one, it's an uninhabited wilderness, because you're in the foothills of the mountains. So that's going to be a 1 in 10, as opposed to a 1 in 12. Okay, select this D10. Eight. And I hear some weird sounds and tumbling rocks down the sides of the mountains, but they get out without encountering any resistance or any other monsters or encounters at all. So that's fantastic. So they make their way to the Badlands as evening and the sun is setting. They make their way into the Badlands, and as they're going through these rock formations. So as we know, Badlands are heavily eroded and uncultivable land with little vegetation. So maybe some skeletal trees toppled over. More so, I think you're looking at Badlands from I'm thinking rock formations and mesas and things even Badlands. In Canada we have the Alberta Badlands. I think there's the Arizona Badlands in the U.S. and so I mean there's not a lot of vegetation. I'm thinking rock formations and tumbled old skeletal trees or fossilized trees and things like that. So they're digging through these things, and they have to search around in this area. Here, they were given directions by Nushain, who knew that 5 years ago, another band of adventurers came through and were looking for this the Dungeons of Tashoon, and they went out and they never returned. So he isn't sure whether they found something and they got rich and they took off, whether or not they perished in the dungeons, or whether they just didn't find anything and they gave up and they went back to whatever their normal lives used to be before it came to this. So given the direction by Nushain, they do, after a while, they find, they shove aside some debris and some crumbled rocks and things like that. And they find a stairway down into, the Dungeons of Tashoon. Now, this could be when we get there, we'll figure it out what it is exactly. But it could be, a city or a town that was over time was, you know, overcome by the weather and the elements and has been buried over time. Whether or not it fell or it was into ruins, whether there was an earthquake, whether, I don't know any of that stuff right now, but we'll figure it out once we get in there, and maybe the story will sort of emerge. Well, that's the idea. The story will emerge through play, or the history of it will emerge through play. So look like, so what we have to do now is figure out what the entrance looks like into the dungeon. Dig out our trusty little appendices and the random dungeon generation. It could be any of these things. And then I'm hoping, we don't know what's going to happen down here when we get it. Obviously, they hope that they're going to strike a Grish and they find out information and secrets. Zawar's probably thinking that he wants to find out some sort of magic to grow his power. But we don't want this to turn, it could very well, we don't want it to turn out to be sort of like the unearthing of Al Capone's vaults in Chicago. If you recall, I don't know if you were around or anybody saw it, back in the mid 80s, Geraldo Rivera did a live broadcast of unearthing Al Capone's vaults, and when they finally got into it, there was nothing in it. It was such a disappointment, such a downer. I remember watching that, and we hope that this doesn't turn out to be one of those things. We don't want an empty dungeon that has nothing in it, but we won't know until we get into it, right? And so we need to decide what sort of entrance that we have for this dungeon. So there's 5 right here. You know, he's got like 5. Gary Gygax has 5 sort of templates that you could use. And I'm going to just roll, we'll roll a D10. We'll go like 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, 7 to 8, 9, 10. So, whenever we're rolling something that doesn't involve me, usually when we have the adventurers, we have the adventurers are green, the bad guys are red, or the 10s are green. But this is like white. That's a 4. Number 2. That's not bad. This one seems to be, this one here, number 3, looks really complicated. I would say 4 is probably the one that would probably be like, I don't know, the easiest one to start. But 2's got 1, 2, 3 exits and 1 entrance. So I mean, like, interesting. So we're gonna start out in the middle. I know the Dungeon Master's guide says discretion must prevail at all times. For example, if you decide the level is to be but 1 sheet of paper in size, and the die result calls for something which goes beyond the edge, amend the result by rolling until you obtain something which will fit in with your predetermined limits. Common sense will serve. If a room won't fit, the smaller one must serve, and any room or chamber which is called for can be otherwise drawn to suit what you believe to be its possible positioning. So, I have to decide whether or not I want it to be a single page, but my graph paper, our graph paper, I don't want to call it super huge, but I have different kinds of graph paper, or different, anyways, we're gonna go with this one for now because it's essentially an 8.5 by 11, but we should go in the middle. I wouldn't want to go here because if we come back, so we'll start like, get out the trusty ruler. And I think, I can't remember, so there's a lot of YouTube channels that I've used for inspiration. The number of them, I think it was either Brian's channel or The Joy of Wargaming, is talking about like going down into a dungeon. It's like survival horror. There's got to be a certain amount of stress in the darkness. You don't know what's down there. you're essentially in like solitary confinement with a group of people, but it's hard to see. You don't know what's out there. You hear where noise is. It's just preying on your mind and being so stressful to be there that that's why, you know, the movement in the dungeon, or like the mapping, or you have to rest every so many turns. I think it's 6 turns. You have to take a turn rest, because the pressure is just too much to just be going careening through it willy-nilly. And I get that. I think it is sort of like, I can't imagine, you know, being down there underground in caves. I'm just gonna randomly sort of, I know what we try to want to say somewhere in the middle, but we'll say right here. Let's go right here. So number 2. So we got 2. These are 10-foot squares. So I'm gonna say we have 20 feet of stairs down into the darkness. I feel like, so we talked about like, so Zoar's like, Zoar's spells are Shocking Grasp, Read Magic, and Shield right now. I did roll up Find Familiar, but I don't think he's ready to use Find Familiar quite yet, because it can be just as dangerous to the magic user at lower levels as it can be to the the familiar. So that being said, Zoar has Shocking Grasp, Read Magic, and Shield. That's all he has. So he's not going to be much help to the party when it has a we'll call it when it has a combat encounter, because he's got nothing that really helps. So right now he's just trying to hang on. He's trying to make it through level 1, and he's going to end up being our sort of like our mapper, our torchbearer, and the smart guy. And if there's any sort of arcane things or interesting knowledge about the complex, the dungeon, then he'll help out there. But otherwise, he's also the mouthpiece. So he is going to negotiate for the group once they meet other sort of people in the dungeon. But other than that, he's going to sit back, try not to get into a fight, because he only has a dagger and he doesn't want to get too close. And like Shocking Grasp he's got to get close to use Shocking Grasp. So he's trying to stay alive, and so that's why he will be memorizing Shield. Jizna will be praying for. She has bonus spells. She has 2 bonus first level spells. So she'll be praying for 2 Cure Light Wound spells, should anybody fall down or get hit or hurt in any way. And then she will be praying for Sanctuary, so she can do some stuff. Maybe if she needs to think about some things or need to do some first aid, she can do so in, without being attacked or being attacked or being disrupted in any way. So that's where it's at. I mean, maybe she could have taken 3 cure light wounds, but if we get one thing is if we get nicked here, we're probably going to turning around and getting at a dodge, or if we get hit too hard, it's going to be difficult. The idea is not to take any damage because we can't take much damage. But this is a big entrance. So there's a door here. I'm trying to keep these sessions to sort of like a minimum. I'm already over a half an hour today, so I'm trying to keep them, 30 to 40 minutes. But I think we got to the Dungeons of Tashoon. We found it. We found the entrance, and this is the entrance that it looks like. And maybe we can, while we're here, like it's dark and dusty. People haven't been down here in a long time. We don't see any foot traffic. And being sort of, I guess, Mumala goes down first. He does have improvision, being a half orc, so he gets down here. They wait upstairs. Like it's the dusk, the waning moments of the day, and magic hour. There's sounds out there in the wilderness, and Zawar and Jizna, I suppose, are they're a little less worldly or warlike than the other two, and they're like a little nervous and they just want to get on with this thing. But Mumala has to go down to make sure that there's nothing down there. And when you go to essentially when you start these things, you don't really have encounters in the first one. This is just the entrance, unless you have one set up. But I don't have one set up. I think it's empty. There's not been a lot here. It's not a lot of. There's dust on the floor and there's no tracks along the way. And then Mumala comes up, takes a look around, and tells them that there's nothing down there. They can come down. So, I think what they're gonna do. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, and they're tired from trekking, and they just need to. So I think they're gonna camp in the entrance. They find out there's no encounters or monsters or anything in the entrance area. It's better them to come down here than the camp out in the Badlands on top. Because you never know what you're going to get out in the wilderness at night. So they're going to camp down here tonight. And we're going to put a watch on. And I think what we'll do is, let's do, we'll set up a watch, and I'm going to treat it kind of like in the, it's not very, rarely is it advised that you camp out in the dungeon because a lot of stuff can come by. But I'm going to treat this as camping out in the wilderness in a way, but instead of 1d10, I'm going to do 1d6. And I'm going to do and if I find out later, some people who are watching this know how we're supposed to do it in the dungeon. I'm going to check for wandering monsters in, we'll call it the, I'm should we talk about the, I guess we got, I don't know. So night, hills. We'll do, I'm gonna, because it's like, so we came to the hills, we came to the mountains, and then now we're in the Badlands. And the Badlands are, what are they? The Badlands are scrub. It's not scrub, but that's the closest thing you can say to it. So there's going to be a night and a pre-dawn. So then I get 2 encounter checks tonight. And we're going to roll them. So they're going to, I guess they'll, probably camp. A couple of them will hang out up here, and a couple of them will hang out down there. And we'll set watches. So there's like 1, 2, 3 watches. I suppose there are 5 of them. Okay, so 3 watches. I mean, I want to say, he's going to help out someday. He's not going to be one of the watches. So we'll go first watch, second watch, and then pre-dawn. Night, midnight, pre-dawn. So night, midnight, pre-dawn. And this is a dungeon. We're going to call it D10 still. 1 in D10. So we'll go night. There it is. Hey, we have our first encounter. I think this is a good time to sort of like cliffhanger. What's it gonna be? Or we can roll it and then figure out how it's gonna happen. So they're gonna be here. Yeah, this is exciting. So I'm gonna prepare for this. All right, random monster table. I have to think that this is gonna be. This is. I mean, you gotta roll the which table must be consulted. It's a D20, but I think it's. I'll do it. 14. Whew. First level. So we don't have to deal with second level or third level monsters. So it'll be on this list here. I'll roll that, and then we'll set it up as a spoiler. Try and get back on as quickly as possible. So green is the 10s, 9 is the 1s. 63. Oh my, orc numbers. Wow, 7 to 12. Wow. What is 7 to 12 again? One D, 2D, let's see, 2D4, 2D4. How do we get to like a minimum of 7? 3D4 plus 1. I don't know. If somebody knows that if you're watching, if there are people watching ever, if somebody knows it, you can let me know what it is. But I think we're just gonna go with 3D4. That's a 3 and a 1. There's 4 of them. Ah! 7. 7 orcs. This is crazy. So wasn't uninhabited. So let's put the X here when we come back. 7 orcs. What are they gonna do? So we'll leave it on a cliffhanger here. I'm a little worried about it and a little concerned about the group. There's 4 of them. Zoar stinks. Oh, well, we'll see. He speaks orc. He speaks orc. We'll see how that turns out. But until next time, I think I'm over my limit. I said 40 was going to be the max. We're over 40, but here we are. Excited to do this. I'm also excited and a bit terrified because I didn't think we'd get monsters this early. At least we made it to the dungeon without issue. Okay, talk to you later.